Welcome back, Algebra 3 and Trig. We are in Unit 2, Section 2.2, the algebra of functions. So when we're given functions such as these, we can use addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division to combine functions and obtain new functions. So there's some properties that we're showing here. They're pretty somewhat self-explanatory. The first one says f plus g of x means you can add the two functions together, meaning you can combine like terms. Same thing with the f minus g of x, same thing, you're subtracting like terms. When it shows fg, the third one in the box, fg of x means you're multiplying f of x times g of x. And then f divided by g of x. When evaluating the new function for a given value, it must be in the domain of each original function. So, in the following example here, let's take a look at example A. Now, in each of these problems, we're going to be eyeing up these guys here, f of x and g of x. So, in A, we need to find each of the following. In A, what it wants us to do is f minus g of negative 2. So it's telling you that you must substitute negative 2 in for x into each of the functions and then subtract them. So let's take a look at f of negative 2. So f of negative 2, we would do, instead of x plus 1, we would do negative 2 plus 1, which is negative 1. Okay, so keep that number, put that number to the side. And then we would do g of negative 2. So that would be the square root of negative 2 plus 3, which is square root of 1, and the square root of 1 is 1. So now, looking back here, it says f minus g. So for f minus g, the f was negative 1, minus the g is 1, and then our answer to the problem is negative 2. So we evaluated, what did we do here in this problem? We just took negative 2, plugged it in for h, got a number. Took the negative 2 again, plugged it into g, got a number. Evaluated each of them, and then did the results f minus g like it asks for. In letter B, we're going to use 6 now for the x, and then we're going to be adding the results for f plus the result for g. So f of 6 is, we're using x plus 1, so 6 plus 1 is 7. So we'll keep that number to the side. Now we'll do the g of 6. So that'll be square root of 6 plus 3. Add them, square root of 9. And then the square root of 9 is 3. So back here it says f plus g. So now we're going to add those two results. F plus g. F was 7. The g was 3. Add them, and our answer to the new function is 10. Okay, now we're going to do f plus g of negative 4. So let's do f of negative 4. What was f? F was x plus 1, so that'll be negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. And then we're going to do g of negative 4. So that would be square root of x plus 3. So square root of negative 4 plus 3. Add them to get the square root of negative 1. Now, this is actually undefined here. You cannot square root a negative number. So we're going to write undefined. Because we're not going to deal with imaginary numbers. I mean, if you wanted to use imaginary numbers, the square root of negative 1 would be I, but we're not going to deal with that. We look back here. Look at the top sentence. It says, when evaluating the new function for a given value, it must be in the domain of each original function. We would say that negative 4 is not in the domain of g. The reason it's not in the domain is because it would make, we can't square root a negative number. Okay, let's take a look at letter D. We have f divided by g. So f of negative 3, that was double checking x plus 1. So that'll be negative 2. And then g of negative 3, that was the square root of x plus 3. So that's square root of negative 3 plus 3. And that would be square root of 0, which is 0. So now we're going to do the f divided by g. So that would be negative 2 divided by 0. And guess what? Can't divide anything by 0, so that is undefined. So our last two problems, we had undefined. Okay, letter E, fg of 13. That means f times g. So f of 13 is x plus 1. So 13 plus 1 is 14. Now we're going to do g of 13. So that was square root of x plus 3. So square root of 13 plus 3. Add them to get square root of 16. And then the square root of 16 is 4. So now we're going to do f times g. So that's 14 times 4 is 56. Okay, so that was how to evaluate functions. We did sums, differences, products, and quotients of functions to plug in for where we're plugging in a number for a variable. So what does that set us up for? What you'll be good to do now is when you go down into assignment 2.2, I just helped you figure, I just gave you the tools that will help you do numbers 1 through 16, okay? So what I just showed you should help you with 1 through 16. If you're still a little bit confused, just ask me during class to get extra help, or watch this video again.